Oh, let's bring that up.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if you put a foot on there, there you go. Yeah, it'll sometimes help you pull.
Wow, that's a great horse.
Thank you. Actually, gonna speak about this.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
You may benefit. Do you have any? You have notes with you?
Oh no, I'm just remembering everything.
Oh, then let's not even use that thing because you don't necessarily need it. But do you feel comfortable standing, or would you like to try even a light hand on podium
I'll
lean?
try this
Try
one.
a light hand on podium lean. Okay, good. Let's start that. Oh, I did. Okay, well, that was a long talk. All right, hon. Whenever you are ready, deep breath.
Hi, my name is Gerardo Reyes Cardenas, and I'm a proud gay, eclectic, pagan, liberal Latino, and I'm here to talk. And in order for you to get to know me better, is me talking about my family and culture, my aspirations in life, and finally my incidents of neglection and bullying.
Let's stop real quick because this is an important story to tell. And let's slow down, especially that beginning. If you're comfortable speaking those identities, let's break those down slowly. What did you have?
So I'm proud gay, eclectic, pagan, liberal Latino.
Okay, there we go. So say those words. So let's start that again. Hello, and then you can give your name and then say, I am.
Okay.
And even you can give a gesture. Does that make sense? Okay, so spread that out and go ahead.
Hi, my name is Gerardo Reyes Cardenas, and I am a proud gay, eclectic, pagan, liberal Latino. And in order for you to get to know me better, I'm gonna talk about my family and culture, my aspirations, and then finally my neglection and bullying incidents.
Mm.
First, I want to talk about the fact that I'm a first generation Latino of my family. I grew up in a Catholic household, but I was raised to believe in paganism. And a lot of people don't understand what paganism is, and it's practically just the belief of different type of deities. And for me, I was raised to believe in different type of aspects of geology. Why I wear so many crystals. I don't just have one simple crystal. I have actually 29. So I have a big rock collection, I guess you want to say. But we just use them as a spiritual part, mostly because as a Latino, you kind of grow up with certain things that are a little bit different, especially since we have the limpieza del huevo, just like cleanses, stuff like that. So it's just to make sure that we understand that we're spiritually cleansed. And one of the reasons why it's so important to me about whole aspects of my background and my culture is the fact that it makes sense to what I want to be in the future, and it's my aspirations. And second, I just want to talk in order for you to get to know me is the fact that I'm trying to go into psychiatry.
Mm.
So I'm trying to go into the medication field of the whole mental disorders. Because I grew up with a bunch of family members who had schizophrenia. I had a lot of family members who had bipolar disorder.
Mm.
And one of the best ways that my family taught us to do is actually do natural medication. We've had a lot of methods. It's practically our cheapest way to create medication for ourselves. And it's not necessarily like narcotics or anything like that. It's just the creation of how to soothe the soul of any type of riddance. Because practically schizophrenia is more of hallucinations, a lot of just spasms and things like that, and just the best way to actually help those people were to actually calm down their heart rates, make sure that they were peaceful, and not to harm anybody around them. Psychiatry has a big impact with me, especially since the next point is going to take a lot of part to it. And finally, I'm going to talk about my neglection and bullying.
With this next one, I want you to really take a second and slow down.
Yeah.
Every single sentence, when you come to the end, take a big breath and consider what you're going to say next. Because your brain works so fast, you need to catch up with, like your mouth and your brain need to catch up with each other. And give yourself that time. Note that even when you're slowing down, if it may seem slow to you, it doesn't seem slow to us. And these things that you're talking about are incredibly important, not only for us to understand, but for you to share and to be able to speak your story in truth. So think about that punctuation as a breath and practice it and go forward from there.
Okay, and finally, my
You can do the transition again.
Yeah,
So,
it was. And finally, to get to know me better, I'm gonna talk about my neglection and bullying incidents. So, from a child, I was obviously, I don't know how to phrase it. I guess I was neglected as a child, not from my parents, but as um, the educational system, mostly because it's very hard for a more different child to adapt to an environment where everybody is like fitting into their gender roles. I was not that type of person who was like to display a lot of masculinity nor femininity. I was just the type of kid that was like going to different type of boundaries and not necessarily sticking to one stereotype. Um, and obviously, as a child, that isn't the most pleasing to the teachers. So I did get a lot of hate from our teachers. I did get a lot of comments that does, like, to me, it brings back a lot of memories. And one of the worst memories I've ever had was my fourth grade teacher. I told her that I was getting messed around by some bullies, and all she did was, "Don't worry about it, because you kind of deserve it." It's a horrible thing, especially since it's your fourth grade teacher, and you actually pay attention to what they're saying. And I took that to heart, and that's what caused me to push me to the limit. I was bullied since kindergarten to 12th grade. That is not something that one can deal with properly and still function correctly. So one of my best ways that I was able to cope with it was actually learn multiple things. I was the type of person who would always read every single day, every single topic. But the thing is, like, I never felt complete, mostly because I always took everything to heart. So one of the worst things that I was able to do was actually pay attention to every single negative thought that everybody came to me. So I've gotten a lot of hate, mostly because of my religion, who I am as a person, and because I didn't fit into any boundaries. I was very androgynous, never fitting into the gender norms. One, because of my sexuality, and two, because of my religion. No one really wanted to adapt to it because I was different. The thing is, I started actually take pride in who I was. Because the fact that I don't need to satisfy other people, because at the end, who's really going to fit my skin? No one else, because it's me who is going to be here. In conclusion, I talked about my family and culture, my aspirations, and finally my bullying and neglection incidents. Yeah.
and yeah, and we started out with that display of identity. So you told us about those three things, and now what can we know, or what can we resolve at the end of this speech that we didn't know at the beginning?
Hate really doesn't get to me anymore. I guess that's what mostly because I know at the end I'm not trying to satisfy other people. It's the fact that I need to satisfy myself before anybody else.
Okay.
Because there's no really need to repress my actual identity just to make someone feel comfortable.
Good. I'm so glad you said that. With the start of something, you could come out and acknowledge those different criteria, and what we could do is even say these identities have been those that aren't always accepted in the mainstream. I'm going to tell you about more of me by describing blah 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 blah, and then when we got to the end, kind of resolve it like that. These identities are me, and who are who I am. I'm not going to give a crap, right? So good.